Imagine, just for a moment, the sound of a simple string vibrating over a piece of hollowed wood. It's an ancient, almost primal resonance, isn't it? A vibration that has the literal power to suspend time itself. In this explainer, we're going to embark upon a profoundly deep sonic and historical journey into the very essence of Spanish music. We're asking a singular, remarkable question today. How exactly did one man manage to take an instrument that had been entirely marginalized, confined for decades to smoky, rough-hewn taverns, and transform it into the most intimate, respected solo voice of the grand European concert halls? We're going to explore the life, the staggering technical innovations, and the truly immortal legacy of Francisco Tárrega. He is the undisputed father of the modern classical guitar. Now, we're not just going to sit here and recite historical dates. Instead, we'll uncover a vital, breathing transformation, discovering exactly how the purest mechanical technique and the deepest human sensitivity merged to irreversibly alter the history of art. Let's actually start with a profoundly revealing reflection from one of Tárrega's greatest disciples, Emilio Pujol. He said, "The guitar is a prolongation of our own sensitivity." Think about that for a second. This isn't merely some technical instruction you'd find in a dusty academic manual. No, this is an absolute declaration of principles. It's a complete philosophy of art and life. And you have to understand, in the late 19th century, this idea was incredibly radical. What we are exploring here is a relentless, almost desperate search for physical, emotional, and spiritual communion between the artist and the strings. It is a communion so perfectly refined that the performer simply stops touching wood and string and instead begins to pluck pure emotion, literally transmitting the very beat of their own heart right through the instrument.
So here is our roadmap for this explainer. We'll begin with the musical context, followed by the maestro's beginnings, the major turning point of his career, his massive technical innovations, his impact and disciples, and finally, we'll look at his immortal legacy.
Part 1. The musical context, the eclipse and the Renaissance.
Before we can truly appreciate Tárrega's revolution, we first need to understand the unbreakable musical hierarchy of late 19th century Europe. If you walked into the grand theaters or the elegant bourgeois salons of the time, the piano and the violin were the undisputed monarchs. They commanded the stages. They were the soloist par excellence, completely celebrated by high society. The guitar, however, well, it was suffering what historians call a total eclipse. After a brief golden age earlier in the century, it had lost practically all of its classical prestige. It had been relegated almost entirely to the shadows, think smoky taverns, providing basic popular rhythmic accompaniment, or acting as the rough early foundation for flamenco. It was entirely marginalized. It desperately lacked a champion with the artistic authority and the vision necessary to pull it back to the center of the cultural stage.
But, as we know, every artistic revolution requires the proper physical tools to actually happen. The physical catalyst for our story arrived in 1869, and it came through the masterful hands of a luthier named Antonio de Torres. Now, the structural innovations Torres introduced to the design of the guitar's soundboard represented a genuinely unprecedented leap forward in acoustic engineering. When Francisco Tárrega managed to acquire one of these magnificent, larger-bodied guitars in Seville, it was a revelation. He had finally found the perfect acoustic canvas he'd been yearning for. This revolutionary instrument gave him sudden, booming volume, this incredibly deep resonance, and an infinite palette of tonal colors. For the first time, the guitar could project properly, finally matching the vast, prodigiously gifted sonic landscapes that Tárrega's mind was already beginning to imagine.
Part 2. The maestro's beginnings, from Villarreal to Europe.
Right at the very heart of this transformation was the sheer, overwhelming talent of Francisco Tárrega himself. He was born in the humble town of Villarreal in 1852, and his unyielding devotion eventually took him to the Madrid Conservatory. And here is a fascinating detail. While he was there, he astonishingly mastered both the guitar and the piano. He possessed a profoundly deep understanding of harmonic structure, but it was his level of emotional expression on the guitar that truly shocked audiences. Following a pivotal recital in 1880, the press was left totally speechless. They famously dubbed him the Sarasate of the guitar. Now, to be compared directly to the mythical violinist Pablo de Sarasate was incredibly high praise back then. It signaled a monumental shift. The public was suddenly realizing that the guitar could sing just as fiercely and weep just as delicately as a master's violin.
His ascent from there was staggering and geographically vast. We track his birth in 1852, acquiring that life-changing Torres guitar in 1869, and then we arrive at that pivotal moment in 1880. Tárrega actually left Spain to embark on triumphant recitals in major European capitals, including Paris and London. And it's absolutely crucial to stress that these were not just mere technical exhibitions meant to dazzle passing crowds, not at all. They were a vital, deliberate cultural mission. With every single performance before the European intellectual elite, Tárrega was rigorously proving a point. The guitar was not some minor folkloric novelty. It was a highly complex vehicle, fully capable of handling the most demanding, refined classical repertoires. Finally, in 1885, he set up his creative epicenter in Barcelona, entering into his most brilliant and mature artistic phase.
Part 3. The Turning Point. Capricho Árabe, 1892.
We really have to look at his piece Capricho Árabe, but we shouldn't view it merely as a composition. Rather, it is the ultimate fusion of technical genius and profound human emotion. Let's look at its architecture for a moment. It begins with this free, almost knight-like introduction that demands immense rhythmic liberty from the player. We call this rubato. The performer essentially has to stretch and pull the time to simulate a deep, solitary human breath. Then, it weaves these exotic, deeply melancholic modal scales that deliberately evoke the historical echoes of Moorish Al-Andalus, really tapping into a deep well of cultural memory. And finally, this melody is supported by light, incredibly fluid arpeggios. They sustain the harmony underneath without ever overpowering the main thematic line. Tárrega was brilliantly translating the deep nostalgia and exotic colors of Spanish Romanticism directly into the vibration of 6 strings. Every single technical resource you hear in that piece is meticulously designed to maximize an overwhelming feeling of longing.
Part 4. Technical Innovations. The Dilemma of Sound.
At the very core of Tárrega's whole musical philosophy lay a radical dichotomy. It's something Emilio Pujol historically termed the dilemma of the sound, nails versus flesh. Faced with this choice, Tárrega made a profoundly poetic decision. He completely rejected playing with his fingernails. He dismissed them as dead matter, arguing that they acted as a cold acoustic insulator, blocking the connection between his soul and the string. Instead, he chose to play exclusively with the soft flesh of his fingertips. He wanted his own life, the actual physical warmth of his blood, and his natural human pulse to transmit directly into the wood of the guitar. He was obsessively seeking the most intimate, warm, and distinctly human tone that was physically possible for the instrument to emit.
Now, to sustain this incredible expressive demand, using only the flesh of his fingertips, Tárrega literally had to invent entirely new, incredibly complex mechanics. These innovations rest on 3 foundational pillars. First, he developed a highly sophisticated, completely independent use of the thumb. This allowed him to extract deep, heavy, and resonant basses that firmly anchored the harmony, signs the guitar had rarely, if ever, produced before. Second, he perfected these enveloping harmonic arpeggios that acted as a continuous, vibrating cushion, magically making the central melody float above the accompaniment. And third, he introduced incredibly rich melodic ornamentation. By utilizing rapid, liquid slurs and highly precise trills, he gave the plucked guitar the sustained fluidity of a human voice, or even a sweeping violin bow. He was, quite literally, turning the classical guitar into a self-contained miniature orchestra.
Part 5. Impact and Disciples, Transmitting the Flame. This revolutionary new musical language was not just kept locked away in some solitary studio. It was intimately passed down through a direct and brilliant lineage of students. Tárrega purposefully surrounded himself with exceptional disciples who lived and breathed his artistic vision. We have Miguel Lobet, who toured internationally, fiercely presenting the true, elevated Spanish classical guitar to the wider world. Then there's Emilio Pujol, the great musicologist who rigorously preserved Tárrega's physical and spiritual philosophy by writing defining academic treatises. And Daniel Fortea, who ensured Tárrega's original scores and brilliant transcriptions were widely published and available to future generations. And we absolutely must acknowledge Tárrega's unyielding willpower here. Even after suffering a tragic, severe hemiplegia in 1906 that completely paralyzed his right side, his dedication was so absolute that he continued to dictate his art, note by note, to these very students.
The ripple effect of this teaching was simply monumental. Because Tárrega and his students elevated the guitar with such unprecedented harmonic richness and such intense emotional depth on stage, conventional classical composers finally began to take notice. The historical, rigid academic wall that had long separated popular string music from high classical art was completely shattered. titans of Spanish classical music, figures like Manuel de Falla, Joaquín Turina, and Oscar Esplá, were entirely convinced by this new sonic world. For the first time, they began to compose original, complex pieces specifically for the six strings, forever legitimizing the guitar within the hallowed halls of classical composition.
Part 6. An Immortal Legacy. The Global Conquest. Francisco Tárrega's passing in December 1909 was, without a doubt, a deep tragedy for the musical world. But it was certainly not the end of his story. It was, in fact, the beginning of an unstoppable global reach. Throughout the 1920s and well into the mid-20th century, the classical guitar steadily conquered the planet's most respected stages. This was championed most famously, of course, by the legendary Andrés Segovia. Segovia is internationally celebrated for bringing the guitar to the world's most imposing auditoriums across all 5 continents. But history must be absolutely clear on this one truth. The magnificent empire of Andrés Segovia was built entirely on Tárrega's foundation. Segovia could only achieve his monumental success because Francisco Tárrega had already conquered the hostile technical terrain and won that initial, crucial institutional respect with his own blood, sweat, and relentless effort decades earlier. And so we are left with a rather provocative and I think deeply moving question. How exactly did the simple, compassionate touch of a human fingertip on a humble string alter musical history forever? Francisco Tárrega didn't just leave us a catalog of imperishable, beautiful music. He reached down into those dark, smoke-filled taverns of the 19th century, and he restored the classical guitar's lost soul. He proved to the world once and for all that in the immense, complex realm of art, the most revolutionary technique of all is always the one that connects us most honestly and most nakedly to our own emotions.